Well, it's a spooky, scary Halloween season, so I decided to check out one more of the Inner Sanctum mysteries for this review. This is Weird Woman from 1944. It's the second of the six Inner Sanctum films. And this one features Lon Chaney Jr. as a professor who, while on a South Seas trip, falls in love with and marries an exotic native. But wouldn't you know it, she was brought up by natives who think she possesses supernatural powers that are potentially dangerous. Muh-hahaha. Well, this one was great, and I'll summarize the film, spoiler free, then offer some closing thoughts and background on the film. The movie opens up with the Inner Sanctum crystal guy. Again, even you can commit murder, so watch out. Then cue the credits, and then the film opens up, and we see a woman sneaking around at night, and it's windy outside. And this is the character Paula, played by lovely actress Anne Gwynn. Who is she, and what's going on? Well, we'll find out, but there's some nice, creepy atmosphere with the music and the wind. Well, she sneaks home past her husband, Lon Chaney Jr., who's playing Professor Norman Reed. He's up late in his jammies, and he's whispering his internal monologue again and having a smoke. He gets a call from the nosy neighbor lady, Evelyn, played by actress Elizabeth Russell, who thinks that she saw his wife Paula running along the street at night. "Oh, you must be mistaken. She's been in bed," he says. Well, he goes to check on her, and she's in bed. He seems alarmed by the shells and beads and weird things that she has on the bedside. Those superstitious things. Well, at his desk, he thinks back to the time when he first met his wife in the jungle. And it's flashback time. We see the story of how he met Paula somewhere on a South Seas island where she is a high voodoo priestess of Kona Ana Ana. He sees her in a ceremony, and when he accidentally steps over a line of shells, he gets attacked by a bunch of the natives. Well, he recovers, and of course, they have fallen in love. Well, another flashback follows where he recalls when he first introduced Paula to his friends from the college. He introduces her to Professor Millard Sawtell, who is played by actor Ralph Morgan. He's one of those actors always showing up in roles like that of the eclectic wheelchair-bound old guy in films like Night Monster. And he speaks with Ilona, who is played here by Evelyn Ankers. So she calls the professor aside and wants to talk to him. And by the way, the two acted together in a much different film in The Wolfman back in 1941. Well, anyhow, Ilona seems upset that the professor has married this girl. And, well, he basically puts her in the friend zone. Who could possibly do that to Evelyn Ankers? Well, in any case, Paula seems to hit it off with everyone there except for Ilona. Well, the next day at work, Ilona comes on strong to the professor. Apparently, the two of them were once a thing. And she doesn't really think much of this new girl, Paula. And she's still very interested in him. And I have to admit, the film does get a little bit soapy at this point. She tells him, "You were fond of me once." But the professor makes it clear that what they once had is over, and he is now happily married to Paula. Ilona, though, seems to have a scheme, and she sends in a love-struck college student named Margaret to work for him.
He's so sweet and so considerate. And there's something so dynamic about him.
Seriously, did Lon Chaney Jr. write some of these scenes? In any case, she seems thrilled about working for him, the most brilliant man on campus. But then David, her boyfriend, arrives and wonders, what's the big deal here? And hey, do you know who this is? This is actor Phil Brown, a.k.a. Uncle Owen from Star Wars. Uncle Owen, can I go to Tashi Station? Much younger, of course. Well, anyhow, he is annoyed that his girlfriend Margaret is showing so much attention to the professor. So Ilona seems to be up to something, and she sympathizes with David's jealousy. And again, it's feeling maybe a little bit soapy at this point. But let's keep going. Weird woman stuff. It's going to be here soon. Anyhow, later, when Norman is starting to become more popular for his recently published book, Ilona talks privately with Evelyn, telling her that the professor has married a witch wife whose voodoo practices have caused the book's success. And Evelyn seems to be buying into this juicy gossip. Ilona is a sneaky one, and she wants Paula gone. Well, later that night, the professor decides to follow his wife as she's sneaking away. They go through a creepy old graveyard. It's really some great atmosphere. And he finds her, and she's doing some of these weird rituals. Well, he finds it, and he stomps on all of it. Uh-oh. While back at their house, she explains that she was merely casting a wall of safety between him and Ilona. But he's not buying it. And he throws all of her items into the fireplace. Well, you know this won't end well for him, because suddenly, death.
Norman!
So apparently, old Professor Sawtell had used the manuscript of a deceased student as his own. And Ilona, finding out about this, had falsely told him that Professor Norman would use this information against him, since both are apparently competing for a chair with the sociology department. Well, this was too much for a poor old professor, and he ends his life. And this causes Evelyn to accuse Norman of murder. And after the funeral, Paula tells Norman that he's in great danger, as he has broken their circle of immunity by destroying her items and artifacts. Now, he still doesn't buy it, though. Now later, Margaret comes to talk to him all dreamy-eyed, and he just snaps at her, telling her to go home, and she just leaves in a hurry in tears. Paula, meanwhile, answers the phone and hears tribal music. That causes her to freak out. What is going on? So things seem to be falling apart for the professor as well. He goes to work and finds out, there was a harassment complaint that was filed from Margaret. Yeah, everything is just falling apart for the guy. He heads to the gym for a doughy guy workout. And by the way, if you were wondering, this is exactly how it looks when I go to the gym, too. Anyhow, he's getting into the rhythm of the punching bag when David appears with a gun, telling him that he took Margaret from him and he's ruined his life. And they wrestle and they grapple for the gun. And as they fall to the ground, David is accidentally shot. Well, Evelyn goes to confront Paula. And she's got this great evil cat-looking face. And she tells Paula that she is the one who caused the murder. "You're a witch," she tells her. "Go back to the jungle," she says during this trippy sequence.
Go back to the jungle where you belong. Got to go back, Paula. You don't belong here. Witch, go back. Go back.
And you know what? With everything falling apart here for the professor and Paula, I won't say much more, because the ending is fantastic. I don't want to give any spoilers. Just like Calling Dr. Death in the series before this, the ending really had a great, crazy twist you really need to see for yourself. So some closing thoughts. Universal immediately followed up the first episode of the Inner Sanctum series with this film, Weird Woman, in 1944. It's based on the novel Conjure Wife, written by Fritz Leiber, and the film was directed by Reginald Laborg, who also directed Calling Dr. Death. So this was the second of the 6 films, and yes, I do hope to review all of them eventually. But I got to get back into the 1940s crime films, thinking maybe something with Dan Duryea, but eventually I'll watch all of these and review them. And I really enjoyed Weird Woman, and this one, much like the previous chapter, Calling Dr. Death, was less of a monster movie and felt more like a Twilight Zone episode with weird, unexplainable happenings and a main protagonist just trying to make sense of it all from a rational point of view, all the while that these strange, unexplainable things are happening, all leading up to an entertaining twist at the end. I love the murder mystery elements and how it just kind of keeps you guessing. Now, I noted in my review of Calling Dr. Death that Lon Chaney Jr. is the star of all 6 of these Inner Sanctum films, but he plays a somewhat similar character, but a different character in completely unrelated stories here. And yet, you can't help but pick up the similarities. He's playing a stoic character who's kind of observing weird things happening, trying to make sense of it all, along with we, the viewer. Well, I've seen Lon Chaney Jr. in a bunch of films now, sometimes as the deranged monster, and sometimes just as a normal guy in crazy situations, like in this film. I get the impression that's the motif of most of these Inner Sanctum films, and that's totally fine, because I think Lon Chaney Jr. does a great job as the everyman. You know, my three fans know I'm always pointing out actors like that who are just more relatable, average. You know, Edmund O'Brien, Lloyd Nolan, and so on. And Lon Chaney Jr. sort of falls into that same category. He's not terribly glamorous. He's not well dressed or anything like that. He's a little bit stocky like me, and I can relate to that. He goes through these films. He's just a normal guy, puzzled, trying to figure out the mystery. And of course, he is somewhat arrogant with how he approaches some of the supernatural elements and talking to his wife and making her destroy all of her trinkets and stuff. And it's all fun and games until he crosses a line and things all start to go terrible for him. The film keeps you guessing all the way until the end. And you're not really sure, is this a voodoo curse? Or maybe he's just being played or manipulated by someone. Who knows? It's a fun mystery, and I enjoyed watching it to see the resolution. So no spoilers again, you got to see for yourself. The supporting cast were all great here as well. Anne Gwynn was enjoyable as the weird woman who, frankly, wasn't really all of that weird in the film, but just a sweet character, innocently holding on to her island traditions in secret. And when the professor brings it all to an end, you can't help but feel a little sorry for her character. And she takes his opposition to her beliefs, maybe better than she should. And in a way, it was a little heartbreaking to me, as he did seem a little cold to her beliefs. And these are ones that she had grown up with, but, you know, she went along with her things getting burned up in the fireplace, even though it meant bad things to follow. I also enjoyed seeing Evelyn Ankers here again as this lovely yet scheming character who might be the one who is behind some of the mischief behind the scenes. Her sinister jealousy of the character Paula, just so she could have the professor all for herself. You know, everyone's just crazy for old Lon Chaney Jr., I guess. I didn't find a lot of trivia on this film other than that these Inner Sanctum films cost around $150,000 to produce, and the shooting schedules were roughly 12 days. So these weren't huge productions, apparently, but I still really respect the quality of these. They're fun, but brief, spooky stories to enjoy. Now, apparently, actress Evelyn Ankers and Anne Gwynn were the best of friends in real life, and even though they were supposed to appear hateful and menacing towards each other in the film, the two found it difficult to keep a straight face during some of their scenes and would begin laughing uncontrollably. And it's funny, and honestly, it's hard to tell from the finished film. But they must have gotten it all under control, I guess. Well, anyhow, that's my summary and thoughts on the film Weird Woman from 1944, second of the 6 Inner Sanctum movies. Lon Chaney Jr., Anne Gwynn, and Evelyn Ankers. I thought they were all excellent in their respective roles, and this was an entertaining, spooky mystery. Keeps you guessing until the very end. And yes, it did have some soap elements to it, but it's still really good. It's a fun film. It's worth checking out.